Good afternoon and welcome to America's Heroes Group Roundtable, Legally Speaking with Steve. July is American Diabetes and National Minority Mental Health Awareness Month. It's Saturday, July 23rd, 2022. I am Vietnam veteran co-founder and host, Cliff Kelley.
And I'm lucky to be in the company of the Governor of Talk Radio. I'm his co-host, Colonel Dr. Damon Arnold. Our executive producer is Glenda Smith. Our digital media producer is the impeccable Ivan Ortega of Scouts Honor Productions. If you ever need any work done, that's the man to go to. And today we have a partner with us, Stephen J. Seidman, founding attorney of Seidman Law Offices with over 30 years as an experienced trial lawyer focused on personal injury. Steve is America's Heroes Group partner, sponsor, and advisory board member. He has done much for the veterans to make sure this program is available to our veterans across the country and now 46 countries, actually. The discussion today is an update on legal issues, and we are so honored and pleased to have you with us, Steve.
Thank you very much, and I'm honored and pleased to be with the governor and you, Doctor, and Glenda. Thank you for having me. Lots to talk about in a very little period of time. The first thing I'm going to start out with was just yesterday, the first black four-star general went in front of Congress, and he's going to be the first four-star general to be confirmed in the Marines' 246-year history. The U.S. Senate expected to confirm the first black four-star general in the history of the branch, which is really, to me, amazing that it took 256 years. Lieutenant General Michael Langley has served with the U.S. Marine Corps for 35 years, and he was nominated to be commander of the U.S. Africa Command, which oversees the U.S. military presence in Africa. The Senate Armed Service Committee just held a confirmation hearing Thursday for General Langley, and if the Senate confirms him, he's going to be the first black four-star general in the Marines' 246-year history. Now, I find that to be kind of amazing that it took 246 years to have that happen, but thank goodness it did, and he's just set to be confirmed, which is great.
Wow.
Yeah. So, in other areas, executive producer Glenda Smith worked so hard to get discrimination in the military for women and sexual discrimination. And when there was things happening from that type of sexual abuse, and there has been tremendous progress over the last couple of years. But I just read something in the news just today that I found very disturbing because it turned out that the spouse of a mother and a spouse was in Hawaii was fatally stabbed on the freeway out in the lobby, and she actually had sought help for abuse. Now her husband is a Marine Corps individual, and he was stationed in Kanoha, and she apparently, according to what the records show, officially or constantly had repeated requests for help that she was abused. And as it turns out, apparently that abuse went unheeded by the powers that be, and apparently the husband who had before had kicked her, had beat her, now went so far, she showed bruises to the people over at the base. This guy went so far as to kill her. And I think the thing that's very disturbing about this, that this fellow was in the Marines, that his wife was complaining of abuse, was complaining of allegations and concern that the command was aware of, and actually nothing happened. She got murdered. Now, why is that any different, and how far have we gone if we say all these great things and say, okay, women in the military are protected, but spouses in the military should be protected as well by the chain of command. And apparently in this case, this has failed. And this woman was just found dead this week, which is really very, very sad.
That's very sad. You know, and we have to send our emotions for her death and her family, what they had to deal with. And, you know, Steve, when you said that, the first thing that came to my mind was that overseas, if you do something that's against the rules of engagement, you are scrutinized by the media, the JAG officer, everyone comes after you, right? And that's for an enemy combatant if you do something wrong. And these are our own citizens, right? These are the family members of our service members.
Exactly. Yeah, and not only that, for years, women service members, but now these are the spouses of the service members who actually, this woman was from New Jersey. She flew all the way out to Hawaii to be with her husband. It would seem that she should have the same type of protections.
Oh, absolutely.
And I just think that that's, you know, unfortunate, obviously, but also an area that now that we have made such strides in protecting women in the military from discrimination and sexual harassment, and there's been new rules, and I think the command is now aware of it. I think you have to now take it one step further and make sure that the wives of these officers and wives of the military people do not get abused in the same way that nobody should be abused.
That's
so,
right.
I guess we can see what transpires on that. And the next area I wanted to talk to, and of course these all have to do with laws and lawsuits. When Mr. Claiborne, we've been discussing this the last couple of months, but there has been, first of all, the burn pits. And Dr. Arnold, we've talked about the burn pits. There's been legislation that has come and now protects VA or veterans from burn pit type of injuries, and that there are all kinds of rare respiratory cancers added to the toxic exposure benefits list. And I encourage anybody in the military, the veterans who have been exposed to these burn pits and has cancer, has brain cancer, has any leukemia, a number of them, to please go to the website, look at all of the things that you might be entitled to claim as a result of your exposure to burn pits. And for those who don't know what burn pits are, I'll be very brief because we've talked about it over the last 3 months. These are very large fields and pits where everything is burned. We're talking, Dr. Arnold has seen this in his military, from fuel, from garbage, to vehicles, anything you could find, munitions, they throw in this thing. And the amounts of toxins coming out of there are truly amazing. So if you have cancer, actually President Biden's son had a glioblastoma, and he, I think, likened it to causally related to the burn pits. And I think maybe that has something to do with the wonderful expansion of VA benefits for rare respiratory cancers and other cancers that exist because of exposure to toxic burn pits. And we'll get in a little bit more about other cases that have to deal with this. I'm going to move now to
Steve, Steve, can I ask you one quick point on that? Is that the issue of these burn pits? So, you know, when we had asbestos, it was a latency period of about 20 years. So I'm wondering, should the veterans come forward now to at least enter some data or some kind of, making a assertion that they have been exposed to these burn pits now, because they may wait and say, well, I don't have a rare cancer right now, but that could show up 10 years from now, 20 years, 30 years from now.
The answer is unequivocally yes. They should make a claim now, say they've been exposed, and we do know, as you pointed out, Doctor, with asbestosis, the asbestos thing, that could take 20, 30 years, and we see a lot of these cancers take a long time. And a couple months ago, I went through the website of the VA website that gave all of the potential areas, the conflicts that people were in as veterans over the years, and what possible exposures they were involved in. They need to make their claims. They need to go to the VA and make these claims. And even though they might not be feeling it right now, the fact is they should go through and say, I want to be registered, and I want to go on record as saying that I was exposed to this.
That's what I wanted to ask you, Steve, whether this would show up later, if not now, with some respiratory problems.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we're seeing it. In fact, Cliff, you served in Vietnam. We're seeing people, obviously, the Agent Orange, that goes on for years. But if there were hits in Vietnam that you were exposed to, for instance, and now you're having certain types of cancers, that if you look at the act, the recent act passed by Congress, signed by the president, you will be protected and get benefits and medical care relating and stipends relating because of those cancers. There are certain causally linked cancers to these type of burn pits. We saw it in 9/11. You remember 9/11? Obviously, everybody does. The buildings collapsed. Firefighters got terribly sick. Same type of thing here. The type of caustic fuel, all of the leaching chemicals that were burned in those pits, those are the same type of chemicals that were there when the Twin Towers fell. So you need to, first of all, be careful, make your claims, see doctors, because I'm guessing most veterans who served were exposed to burn pits.
Yes,
and were exposed to the hazards. And I'm guessing you were, Dr. Arnold?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Every day. And you know, one of the things, too, and I think it's really important, the reason why I was asking you about that time delay is because I've seen this on the other side as a practitioner, you know, where people have cancer, they become debilitated, and then they turn around and go like, was I exposed to asbestos with mesothelioma? You know, and their family has to deal with that. And the paperwork, if you already have filed, at least you have a starting point that the family member can, you know, the spouse or the children can follow and make sure that, you know, everything is done correctly, making sure they get an attorney early on, and then, you know, as a person is going through chemotherapy, or if they have stage 4 lung cancer when they find it, they may already be very ill. So that's,
exactly.
Yeah.
And I think people tend not to pay attention or not put 2 and 2 together because they're not, how do you do that? Right. I mean, if I got cancer right now, you know, when I think back, oh, gee, I was exposed to burn pits. You know, they just don't put that together. And that's why you have to think back if you were exposed. I'll give you a perfect example in this next area, actually, Camp Lejeune. And we talked about this last month. Camp Lejeune, did you know 2 out of 8 water supplies at Camp Lejeune were contaminated with highly toxic chemicals for over 30 years. 30 years.
Wow.
Solvents, fuel pollutants made their way to the wells and water supplies, along with pollution from leaking underground storage tanks. The concentration levels were 280 times the amount accepted by safety standards, causing civilians, militaries, and families to get sick and even die. There's now an act in 2021. It's called the PACT Act, P-A-C-T capital. And the House has, and it's passed. It's called the Camp Lejeune Justice Act. And what this does is, if you have cancers, certain cancers, you were at Camp Lejeune, even though this could have happened 30 years ago, you have a window of 2 years to file a lawsuit against Camp Lejeune. And against the United States government. And this was, like, keep in mind, 1953 to 1987. Imagine how many employees and civilians of employees were there during that time. Cliff and Dr. Arnold, they let these people drink water that they knew was contaminated.
Wow.
They actually contaminated with all kinds of chemicals, and they let people drink it. They showered with it. They fed their babies with it, and there is this time period in which to do. And after one of our shows, somebody called and asked me questions. He had been, wondering, got some prostate cancer. I mean, he had cancer. There were a lot of people were, and you have to. It's just what we just finished up talking about. You have to think back. Where was I? What was I exposed to? Right? I mean. And I think, listen, we could get into the 3M, and I think we talked about that, right, Dr. Arnold? You know about that, the 3M lawsuits.
Yes.
And those are earplugs that were sold by 3M. It was actually another company that 3M purchased that were actually completely useless. Okay, so what we're finding out now is the government, the veterans group, is arguing that 3M knowingly failed to warn the U.S. military and service members about the risk of hearing loss from the use of its combat earplugs. And the Aero Technologies made these things, and they say, the veterans groups are saying, look, they knew about the design's flaw, and it's called the Purple Heart Foundation. That's who was saying all this. They knew about the flaw. They actually made millions and millions and millions of dollars over it, and then what happened? They were useless. Okay, so those people with hearing losses, and I know tinnitus, ringing in the ears, and you had those during the Afghanistani conflict or Iraqi conflict, wherever. This easily could have been caused by, or Desert Storm, easily could have been caused by the exposure to the noise and then the lack of the 3M. That gets, again, back to health and not understanding what had happened, because who knew that these earplugs were totally useless? And by the way, there was a recent case that said that, look, now it's not only about loss of hearing. The VA, you have to if you have ear pain and have hearing devices that cause ear pain, that's also connected to service disability. So first thing you ought to be doing is obviously filing a claim with the Veterans Administration, which for loss of hearing, and then they cover you. And then the time the ship might have sailed against 3M, but something to think about.
What did you say? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you mentioned the Purple Heart Foundation. That's tied in with which now?
That's the Purple Heart Foundation is a veterans group, Cliff.
Right.
Actually active in it's called the Purple Heart Foundation, and what they do is they are active in veterans issues, and especially those veterans who have injuries or debilitating things caused by wartime or by service related. So it's a group, actually another group of veterans, a subgroup called Purple Heart Foundation.
Okay.
And they're very understand. Yeah.
Okay, we have about 4 minutes to go, Steve. But we never have enough time to talk to you. But
fast. I do want to talk about the Supreme Court decision, which this week about our and. Actually, this is there's something in the United States called it's an act, USERRA. Okay, a lot of initials I'm giving. I'm sorry about that, but it makes it illegal for employers to discriminate on the basis of military service. Right. So if you go and in this case, there was a state trooper in Texas named Leroy Torres, and Leroy Torres was exposed to, what do you think? Burn pits. He came back disabled because of the burn pits. And he goes back to the state troopers and he says, okay, I can't do my state trooper job. I want to get accommodated. And you know what Texas says? Pound sand. Nope, we're not going to allow you to. Well, good for Leroy, because he went up to the Supreme Court of the United States, who just a couple weeks ago said that the states are not immune from protection under this veteran job protection law. And just like a private company, like Walmart, or like any private company, you cannot discriminate against a veteran or an active reservist if they took time, if they're coming back disabled. You must accommodate them, and you must give them the time of day. Why? Because they served our country. Yes. They did it well. So I want to open up with one, or close it with one last thing that came out yesterday, and that was the jewelry store, Harris Jewelry, around the country. 46,000 service members and veterans nationwide are entitled to $34.2 million in all kinds of states. Why? Because they used deceptive marketing tactics and they lured active duty service members to its financing program, tricked them into investing, gave them poor quality jewelry, and screwed up their credit rating. So if any of you veterans used Harris Jewelry, I urge you to go to your state and look on the internet, because you're entitled to money if you were cheated by them. Harris Jewelry just announced $34.2 million, the attorney generals, that they have to pay because they targeted service members and veterans with false claims of all sorts.
And how do you spell the name of that company?
It's Harris, Harris Jewelers.
Okay.
Jewelers.
Okay. And do you take care of those kind of cases, Steve?
No, actually, though, I could lead people in the right direction because the Attorney General has a fund, and they're the money. All they got to do is contact the Attorney General, Kwame Ruel's office here in Illinois, and they'll be very helpful to get the claim forms out to them.
Okay, I think you're the greatest attorney in the world. So, we have 1 minute to go, but I just want to thank you for being on. We had to have more time with you. But why don't you give your telephone number for people to call you, Steve? Because if you have a problem, a legal problem, you need to go to Steve Seidman.
Yep.
Yes, sure. It's Steve Seidman. It's Seidman, Margulis, and Fairman, 312-781-1977. That's it.
Okay, great. Thank you, Steve.
Absolutely.
Thank you all very, very much.
Thank you so much.
Stay with us. Stay with us. We're going to a commercial break, and we will be right back at America's Heroes Group.
Hi, I'm Cliff Kelley, Vietnam veteran and host of America's Heroes Group, the game changer in radio, print, and digital media programming. We are a roundtable talk show where information, resources, and referrals are provided intentionally every Saturday to empower our military population on WVON 1690 AM, the iHeart Radio app from 4 to 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Please visit our website at www.americashg.org. Hi, this is Cliff Kelley, the host of America's Heroes Group. If you or a loved one has been injured in an accident or the result of malpractice, you have only one chance to get the compensation you deserve. You need a law firm you can trust with experience and resources who will fight on your behalf. With a proven track record of excellence both in and out of the courtroom, call Seidman, Margulis, and Fairman at 312-781-1977 for a free consultation, or visit SeidmanLaw.net. That's Seidman, SEIDMAN, law.net.
Hey Cliff, where can a veteran business owner go on the south side of Chicago for breakfast, lunch, and dinner meetings?
I'm a veteran, and that's an easy answer. Pearl's Place on 39th and Michigan. Pearl's Place has free parking available across the street. Reasonably priced, quality food that tastes delicious. Veteran owners, there's no place like Pearl's Place.
Market, advertise, and sponsor your business with Vietnam veteran Cliff Kelley and America's Heroes Group, where information and resources are intentionally disseminated via radio, print, and social media. Call our office for more details at 312-803-2618.
The Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Good afternoon and welcome to America's Heroes Group Roundtable Community Outreach. July is American Diabetes and National Minority Mental Health Awareness Month. It's Saturday, July 23rd, 2022. I am Vietnam veteran, co-founder, and host, Cliff Kelley.
Hey, and I'm his co-host. I am honored to be that. Anytime I see Cliff Kelley in the studio, it's a good day for me. And I'm Dr. Damon Arnold, retired colonel from the U.S.